Welcome to memoQ Talks, where we talk to industry leaders about their experiences, lessons learned, and what works best across all areas of localization. Now here's your host.
Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of memoQ Talks. My name is Jofi and I'm a product marketing specialist at memoQ. And today my guest is going to be Lucio Bagnulo, Deputy Program Director and Head of Translation and Language Strategy at Amnesty International. Welcome, Lucio.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And before we jump into the interview itself, please remember to like the video if you like what you see here, and subscribe and leave a comment if you want to. So, I'm going to be honest, I borrowed this question from previous memoQ Talks episodes. And I wanted to see what my guest was saying about himself on LinkedIn. And I also cherry-picked a couple of things that sounded interesting to me. So, Lucio, you mentioned a strong cross-cultural background, which you have gained through various study and work experiences in different countries. Please tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So, yeah, of course, I was born and raised in south of Italy, in a touristic town called Ostuni. A bit of commercial here. But my journey has taken me across several countries, shaping also who I am today. Currently, I'm based in Spain, in Madrid, but I've lived in France, Belgium, and the UK. And I pursued, an MA in translation from the University of Bologna first, and then another, translation and interpreting MA from the University of Westminster in London. So, I've lived a bit, across Europe, and I'm very happy now in Spain.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Have you got a favorite place that you lived in so far?
French was my first foreign language, and France has always been, I always loved France, but of course, Spain now is close to my heart as well, because, also my son was born here, and my wife is from here. So, yeah. And then there is very, very common things with it, south of Italy in particular.
Okay. I've never been there, but I really want to go now.
You're welcome to, come and visit.
Okay, thank you. And do you think these experiences shaped your worldview or your personality? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think that each place I've lived in or worked in has left a bit, its mark. All these experiences have shaped my worldview for sure, but also my leadership style. Teaching me a bit, the value of empathy, first of all, adaptability, because you really need to adapt to different cultures every time you move, and linked to culture, of course, cultural sensitivity. I think all these qualities are essential. We're working in diverse global contexts, and in particular with diverse teams like mine, for example.
Okay. So the second thing that was very interesting in your bio to me was that you're also part of the Language Industry Expert Group, aka LIND, correct?
Yes, LIND.
What does this mean and what do you do there?
Yeah, basically, the Language Industry Expert Group, or LIND Group, is made up of influential professionals from across the language industry. And we provide the European Commission's Director General for Translation expertise in areas such as translation, language data, and language technologies. But we are, involved in a range of impactful initiatives, including, for example, contribution to the agenda of the Translating Europe Forum, efforts to enhance the visibility of our profession, train the trainers programs, and what I like very much is a close collaboration with the European Masters in Translation Board and Network to strengthen ties between the academia and industry, which is very important. And at the moment, for example, we are collaborating on the development of a European internship framework. So it's undoubtedly an exciting and rewarding experience, also because I get to learn a lot from my peers, from my colleagues, and you are given a lot of opportunities to shape the future of the language industry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That sounds like a lot, but it also sounds great.
It is great, yes.
I love this part where you said that we have to tie academia and the profession together. I think that's very important too, because I come from an academic background as well.
Absolutely. I think it's the key for, to make sure that our future colleagues, so the students now, are very well prepared and not, taken aback by how the industry changes across time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Another exciting credential that you have here is Language Industry Person of the Year and 2024 Multilingual Media Influencer. Can you tell me about that? What does this mean, and what does it mean to you?
Well, being recognized as, Language Industry Person of the Year in 2022, and then, being part of the Multilingual Media Influencers, by this important magazine, I think it's both humbling and validating, I think. For me, these awards are not just a personal achievement, as I always say, but a success of collaborative efforts. I would also say that it's a bit a celebration of the impact we have when we break down language barriers and unite in our diversity. So it's really a reminder that our industry is central to bridging divides, but also to empower people globally. So it's a responsibility that I take seriously, to be honest.
Okay. That sounds really good. And congratulations on that title.
Thank you.
And we've arrived to your current position. And I really want to ask you about leadership, because you've mentioned leadership before, how the cross-cultural experience shaped your leadership skills. So now you're Deputy Program Director and Head of Translation and Language Strategy at Amnesty International. How long have you been here, and was there a special motivation for you to join this particular company?
Well, I've been with Amnesty for 10 years already, since yesterday that I joined the organization. But I joined because I was inspired by Amnesty's global impact and wanted to contribute, by ensuring language could play a strategic role in advancing human rights, but also connecting diverse communities, giving a voice to those who have been deprived of their human rights, including the right to speak up. So that was really what moved me. Of course, when I saw the job advert, it was a bit similar in terms of responsibilities, or at least I thought it was similar to responsibilities I used to have in my previous role, but on a bigger, of course, scale. It's a global role, but now what I like is that there is no one day, similar to the other. It's challenging, but in a motivating way. And then there is, of course, the underlying important cause. Translation or multilingualism is linked with, human rights defense. So, I think everybody would like to work at Amnesty International.
Oh, do you think so?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds really, really amazing. And is there any particular issue? You mentioned this human rights angle. Do you have one project that is closer to your heart, or you just like it on the global scale?
Well, there is, I think, the biggest campaign that we have, and it's Right for Rights. It's really, basically made up of letters being written by supporters of Amnesty or everybody across the globe in relation to cases, individuals that are, for example, in prison, whose human rights have been, taken. So it's there where you see the movement in action. Writing a letter to have those individuals be released, or not sentenced to death many times as well. So Cry for Rights is something that it's an amazing campaign, really.
Okay. Wow, thank you. That sounds really inspiring. And what exactly is your work there? What does it consist of? What do you do as head of translation and language strategy?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you can see from the title, it's split in two, right? Head of translation and language strategy. So
Yes.
I oversee the translation service of the International Secretariat. So, we translate any kind of output that is produced by teams, internal teams. So it can be, for example, a research report, or it can be campaign material, posters, media material, letters to head of state or government, etc. Any type of material that you can see. Last year, we translated between 110 language combinations. This year, we are already at 119, I think, for a total of 8 million words, which for an NGO is pretty big, and into 84 target languages. So it's I oversee the whole translation department, and make sure that of course we provide, or we meet Amnesty's multilingual needs in equality, abiding by professional standards, of course. And on the other hand, my second part of the role is that I oversee, review, develop, and lead on the implementation of Amnesty's language strategy. So which goes beyond translation, because it's about language, right?
Yeah.
So even language of origination, how language can be a strategic vehicle to to contribute to impact globally. And I've just actually launched the other day, the new language strategy was launched in the organization, and it's a movement-wide strategy which goes from this year to 2030.
Wow. Okay, that sounds amazing. And I would like to read out a quote that you also have on your LinkedIn, which connects to your leadership and your team. So you said that, "I know that a happy and motivated team is a successful team. I encourage my team to be versatile and to take an approach based on culture, core values, and creativity." So first of all, tell me about your team, please. How big is your team, and who is in your team?
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, my team is very diverse, incredibly diverse, I would say, because it consists of a distributed in-house team of 22 members, which includes translators, language coordinators, DTP specialists, and a global network of over 400 freelance translators. So while the in-house team is spread across multiple locations, so for example, language coordinators are in Africa, Asia, Europe, so one in each region. The in-house translation teams are mainly based in Europe, and except the Arabic team, which is between London and Beirut, and the Chinese team, which is in Taiwan. But I think before the pandemic, actually the pandemic was a big, changed many things, because before the pandemic, I used to sit with the Madrid team, with the Spanish translation team, in the same office. So I would say that only 30% of my, leadership was on site. All the rest was remote. So after the pandemic, I would say it's 100% remote. So this requires cultivating a culture of trust, adaptability, and clear communication. Because you have to ensure that everybody, regardless of their location, feels equally connected, valued, supported. You have to be there, always replying to their messages. The distance shouldn't be a barrier. So that's something that I really pay attention to.
Okay. Yeah. The pandemic, in a way, opened up a lot of doors in collaboration and working with people from different cultures. That was my experience as well.
Yeah. I mean, with pros and cons, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the fact that I was really already used to the remote, leadership. It made it simple in a way. It didn't
Yeah.
change much because we were already used to working in that way. So we had already built a lot in terms of, team values, connections, etc.
Do you ever meet in person, all of the team?
Do you have, sorry?
Do you ever meet in person?
Yeah. Not very often, but for example, last year we had, a retreat, a team retreat. It doesn't happen very often because overall in the program we are 32, 34, something like yeah. So, and from across the globe, so you can imagine it's a bit difficult also from a logistic viewpoint. But yeah, we do meet, once every 2 years, more or less. We try, if also from a financial viewpoint it's possible.
Yeah, it's the same with us actually. We have an annual all company meeting.
That's great. I mean, it's important. It's important because
Absolutely.
what happens, when you meet in person is not the same. I mean, you cannot replace the in-person part at 100% for sure. You don't have those chit chats that you
Exactly.
and those are important too in order to build, a healthy team as well.
Yeah, and speaking of healthy team, you said a sentence about leading based in culture, core values, and creativity.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, please.
Yeah. I mean, in practice, I would say leading with culture, core values, and creativity means fostering an environment where people feel empowered to bring their unique perspectives.
Yes.
And strengths, and also strengths, to the table, basically. So what I do or try to do every time is to encourage open dialogue, actively listen to their ideas, but also to me it's very important to show my team that many times I learn from them because they as I was saying, being very diverse. I mean, my team being very diverse, not just in terms of cultures, but also different ages, different. I think there is such a wealth of knowledge in my team that many times I'm just amazed. So I really try to create a dynamic founded on collaboration and mutual growth.
So let's now move to the translation industry and the profession a little bit. Everyone has a different outlook on the future of the profession, and we can see that it's changing and new technological advancements are popping up every day. What are your thoughts on this, and does it affect your team in any way?
Yeah, thanks for this question. I mean, well, as an industry, we must not fear change, I think, but embrace it first of all. I think, technological advancements like generative AI, machine translation are, not the end of our profession, but rather the next step, as I usually say, in our evolution, in its evolution. And someone, now I can't remember who, but I think it was Modern MT that said that or no, someone else. But anyway, someone said that it's not the machine who will replace us, but those who are able to use the machine. So that to me means that human expertise remains crucial in refining, guiding, and ensuring that the ethical application of these tools. I think it's very important to bear that in mind, not to be afraid of these tools, because this can be, I think we should look at this from an assistive perspective. So while innovation enhances agility and creates opportunities for efficiency, I think we also must keep expectation grounded. I think the hype surrounding, AI has often led to unrealistic expectations. Also, in my direct, experience. And realistic expectations in terms of its applications also in areas where, for example, processes that already been or are already good as they are, so there is no need to add artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
etc. And if we don't apply this technology in the right way, we only have a result which is the opposite of what we want. So we would have unnecessary complexity, for example, and added cost instead of savings. So I think we must stay focused, apply this tool where they truly add value, which to me again underscores the how critical human expertise is in this regard. And it's I say all of this because I live it every day in my
Yeah.
daily job, and we have to. I think also as an industry we have the responsibility of educate, in this field. But yeah, I think we don't have to be afraid of it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This was among the questions in my interview as well. And I also said a similar answer. And yeah, I don't come from the industry. I come from linguistics, so I wasn't sure. But yeah, I'm really glad that I'm not the only one who thinks this. So thank
Good.
you for that. And yeah, we're in the field of language, and you also say in your bio that you position language as a catalyst for change to drive a truly global and impactful movement. I really like this because I work for an NGO as well, and I volunteer at a women's rights organization. So, what role do language and translation play in driving social change? What do you think?
Well, language is not just a tool, but a force for empowerment, I think. At Amnesty, and this, by the way, is very much linked to the language strategy. So at Amnesty, language is about making, research, campaigns, resources accessible to diverse audiences. Translation, because it's my field, but multilingualism in general, I would say, allows us to connect with marginalized communities, in their own language, bridging the gap between, knowledge and action. And for instance, we published not so long ago a research report into endangered Pamiri languages, which were Shugni and Waki. And this was the first time that Amnesty published a research report in these languages, and the translator was so moved by it that sent us a thank message, because it was really putting language at the core of the research and the action for them. I think it's really important. I mean, language is key to make sure that we can affect change, we can drive change, and to make sure that people who are deprived of their human rights know what's happening to them in their own language and can take action.
Okay, I didn't know this about Amnesty. This sounds really good.
Yeah.
And thank you for the work that you do. And you sort of answered my next question already, but I will say it regardless, and then you can decide if you want to share more about this. So my question was going to be, what is translation's role at Amnesty itself and in Amnesty's mission?
Yeah, it's very much linked to what I've just, for example, the example I gave about the Pamiri languages. Right. But we also have to think that what we try to do every day is to also educate our own colleagues to think strategically about
Yeah.
multilingualism. So from the very outset, that is always a challenge for translation. Translation comes at the very last of the production process, etc. But also the language strategy that was launched a couple of days ago insists on the fact that language should be present at every level of our work in our organization, from the inception of a project, but also on the evaluation side. So at the end, we need to be able to rely on data which tell us how to be more strategic next time to achieve the impact that the organization is looking for. And language can be a catalyst for that.
Okay, thank you. And now let's go to the future. We've already talked about where the industry is heading, but can you tell us about your plans, personally, professionally, whichever you'd like to and you're comfortable to share for the near future or not so near future?
Yes. Yeah. So professionally, well, I aim to continue positioning language at the core of human rights, advocacy in particular. But I also believe in mentoring youth. So as I was saying, our future colleagues, as they are our future. So I also would like to, engage in initiatives that help develop their potential, or initiatives that contribute to giving visibility to our profession. As I was saying, as one of the initiatives of the Linked Group, for example, because I think those are very important too, to inspire the next generation of language experts. On a personal level, well, I plan to keep expanding my understanding of how language intersects with justice, accessibility, and inclusion. I'd love to collaborate with like-minded organizations globally, for example. But yeah, so I would say empowering young talent and fostering collaboration in these areas remains central to my vision. Also for creating a more inclusive and impactful future through strategic multilingualism. So everything is connected, and there would be no Lucio without multilingualism. So what I do is really part of me, and I cannot, help talking about it. Also, when I talk about my professor and personal, life.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this sounds very good. And I'm not sure if you know, but at memoQ recently, there have been some big changes around accessibility. We reshaped our documentation. We're using inclusive language, and we're also shaping memoQ, the tool itself, to accommodate more and more people.
Yeah,
I think this is a very good direction.
We are actually very proud users of memoQ. So we very much welcomed those changes in about accessibility.
Oh, that's good to hear from an expert, let's say. And I'm interested in this mentoring the youth angle. Do you have like a couple of tips maybe, or anything that you would like to share about mentoring? How can we help future generations?
Well, I think because I'm part of two advisory boards, university advisory boards. So basically, we advise the universities, the curricula, what we think would increase, for example, the chances of students to become, to find a job in the future, or to make the curriculum more attractive. So one of the suggestions I made recently was to put in place a mentorship program for students. So, for example, for students to have access to experts like us. I mean, I don't particularly like to call myself expert, but to have access to our experience really, and to help guide them. Because I remember myself when I was a student, I cherished and treasured the advice I received from experts back then, and but also professors who were not just professors, in the academic way, but had also an arm in the industry, etc. I think those can be, those advice can be very, reassuring for the future, and can help you discover also what you're good at and what you're not good at, and you don't have to be afraid of not. For example, if you study translation, I always say it doesn't mean that you have to be a translator, but you have to think of your, skills where they can be applied, transferable skills, I always say. And that is something that, as a student, many times you say, oh my God, I don't like translating. What do I do now? No, that's the wrong focus. And I think in
Okay.
that sense, a mentor can help you, find your own way, being there to maybe provide some reassuring answers.
And now this made me thinking of one question that I didn't ask, but I'm really curious. How did translation come into your life? Did you always want to become a translator, or how did that go?
Well, if you see my curriculum, you will see this guy is really into translation, but it wasn't like that. So actually, I mean, languages, yes. I've always studied, foreign languages since the high school. I used to study 3 languages. So I was always, I always loved foreign languages. But I actually studied in my bachelor degree, languages applied to finance. So it was really in the optic of working maybe in a multinational environment, but in that sector, in that industry, until I attended a French course, and my amazing professor, now one of my best friends, Natasha Rasky, introduced us to translation. So I fell in love with translation. I decided to then go abroad to English language skills, to improve my language skills, because it was my second foreign language. And then I took the translation test at the University of Bologna, Forlì, which is the best university for translation in Italy. And I succeeded. So that changed completely my career path, and then I moved into the translation altogether, and then I went into freelancing, and then project management, team management, and then Amnesty came.
Okay, that's so interesting that your career started there, because I think we had a university day there in 2024 or 23 with memoQ, where we talked to some translation students and we introduced memoQ and we gave them advice on how to become freelancers.
Amazing, yeah.
Small world. Yeah. And we've arrived to my last question. I took a question from my own interview where Balázs asked me about music, but you asked me to change it to sports because that was something that was important in your life. So what is this about sports? Tell me about your sports.
Yeah, sure. I mean, sport is essential to me. I mean, it's just critical. I mean, it helps me manage the demands of intense work days. Or family work, intense work, days, and has also been a key factor in overcoming challenging moments. Also, in both my professional and private life. So whether it's going to the gym or swimming, staying active keeps me grounded and energized. So I highly recommend it to anyone looking for balance and resilience in their daily life, really. So yeah, I love almost all sports, really.
So you do sports and not do you
Absolutely.
watch sports also?
Yeah, I do more than watch. So I train 4 days a week. I try to, and I would train more, but having a 4-year-old kid, he he keeps me, quite busy. So yeah.
That's good exercise too, having a 4-year-old, yeah?
Absolutely. I mean, oh my God. Yes. It's, you can't keep running after him every time.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like really, in terms of sports, yeah, I like swimming, but what I do more is, for example, going to the gym. So,
Yeah.
weightlifting, because it's really, puts all the stress accrued throughout the day out, and it uh, leaves my mind completely, empty from concerns, etc.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I mean, my wife many times tells me, go to the gym, please, because she realizes that I'm being a bit too intense.
Okay. Okay, that's really interesting. I do some physical therapy, and lately we've been doing some weightlifting as well. And then my physical therapist always says something like, "Okay, remember when you got angry in that meeting? Remember that moment and
Yeah,
push
yeah,
through." It's
yeah.
really fun.
And also, I do like team sports.
Right.
I'm not. I mean, I'm a bit ashamed of saying this because being an Italian, I'm really terrible at football. And my whole family, is really received. But yeah, I don't particularly, like football. But yeah, I usually like, even if I'm not good at I don't excel really at team sports, but I usually, I'm curious. I'm a curious
Yeah.
person, so I like to try anything really.
Okay. And yeah, I agree with you. You don't really have to be good at anything as long as you enjoy it.
Yes.
I'm into writing, and I know that I'm very amateur-ish, but I love writing so much that I will just write, and it makes me happy.
Yeah, that's the important thing. I mean, the fun part. You
Yeah,
don't have to forget the fun part. And if
absolutely.
that, is a fun part, it has a fun part. It's already important and makes your life better, I think.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. Well, thank you for that. Is there anything that you haven't shared with us that you would like to? Now is your last chance.
No, I would like just to thank memoQ for the opportunity to actually also allow me to shed some light on the importance of multilingualism in the area of human rights. So I encourage everybody, of course, to visit Amnesty International website, and thank you, memoQ, again.
So, thank you again, Lucio. And after you've visited Amnesty International's website, please drop a like here or subscribe to memoQ Talks if you've enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining memoQ Talks, where we talked with industry leaders about their experiences and lessons learned to gain new insights about what works best across all areas of localization. Join us next time on memoQ Talks.